We get there usually, I mean, depending on what time the venue allows us. But usually we'll show up to where the bride's getting ready. If it's somewhere close, just to check in, make sure that they have everything they need, and then grab any last minute details that she might have to bring to the venue. We do all the setup, ceremony, and reception. As long as it's not hanging drapery or hanging things from walls or ceilings, we'll take care of it.
Look at how I'm living. Just look at how I'm living.
Hey guys, welcome back. It is Everything with the Guffies, and we are recording episode 4.
Episode 4.
And today we are talking all things wedding, and I have somebody who is one of my favorites on our podcast, and somebody that I've worked with several times and for many years, Chloe.
Hello.
Chloe, hello. How are you?
I'm good.
Welcome. Do you want to kind of tell us who you are, what you own, what you do?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm Chloe with Chloe and Company Events. We're mainly a planning and coordination company,
Okay.
but slowly expanding all the time.
Hey, slowly but surely wins the
We
race.
get that
That's
one.
it. So we offer in-house decor. We do some in and outs of catering, but truly our focus is the planning and coordination.
Yeah. Okay.
We focus a lot on weddings, but we do other events as well, birthday parties, bat mitzvahs, kind of all
Oh,
over.
no way.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know that. Cool.
That's something that we've, over the past year, have grown into from
Okay.
referrals from clients.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
I'll say
word of mouth is the best, right?
for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of who we are. We opened back in 2019, so we're growing quickly, I guess, for size-wise of everything.
Yeah.
And with the different St. Louis growing in the wedding industry and everything too, which has been a great benefit. So excited to see kind of where we go next.
Yeah. So you've been doing
Sweet.
this for several years, since 2019. And how did you start this? What made you want to start wedding coordinating, event planning?
Well, I hated weddings.
Really? I did not know
Really?
that.
So I was in college and I was going to be a restaurant manager. So my degree is in hospitality tourism management. And I was like, oh, I want to be in restaurants. That's what I wanted. I've done everything from dishwasher, server, bartender to restaurant GM, beverage director.
Yeah, where did you work at in high school? Because I feel like we knew each other in high school.
That was from friends.
Yes.
But where did I work in high school?
You went to Fort Sumont West, and I went to Fort Sumont South.
Yep.
What year did you graduate high school?
2011.
Oh, yeah. So I graduated the same year.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought you were a year ahead of me.
No, I would say, but we met at your old apartment.
Oh my
In O'Fallon.
God. Look
Through
at that. It
friends.
was a long time ago.
I know.
Oh my God. Memories, right?
That was before my time.
Right.
So
But
where do you work at in high school?
I was at Steak and Shake.
Oh my God, yes. Off Highway
Yeah.
K.
Rest
no,
in peace, rest
like
in
St.
peace.
Louis.
Really?
I didn't want to see.
Oh, that one's still there?
Yeah,
that
I
one's
didn't
holding
want
on.
to see anybody that I went to school with. So I was
That's
like, oh, I'll
fair.
go to Lake St. Louis.
That's
That's
fair.
smart.
And it didn't work. I saw everybody.
That's so funny. And then, so you were in college and
Yeah, so my college professor, my internship had to be in the hospitality industry, but not what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I can do that. I was like, I don't want to do anything with weddings, so let's do that.
Yeah.
And turns out I loved it. Was in that I did my internship for a year and then stayed on with that company for another 3 years as their coordinator.
Yeah.
Moved around a little bit and realized I hated getting off at 2 a.m. And I
Yes.
was like,
That's fair.
you know what? I am ready to get out of it, have a normal job Monday through Friday, which is what I thought normal was.
Yeah.
And so I left and went into the wine and spirits industry, more back towards the restaurant side. I got my sommelier certification. My husband and I moved to Savannah, Georgia, since that's where he's from.
Yes.
We were there a few years until we had our daughter, and it was fun, but the St. Louis was calling back. This is where our families are.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
with family and friends and a 8-month-old, it's like, you know what? It'd be nice to have some help.
So I met you, I think when you came back from
Yeah.
Savannah, because we did that styled shoot, right? And then when we did the styled shoot at, was it Tompkins then?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yes. And that's kind of when, was that when you, yeah, that was.
Yeah, that was my first. When we
Yeah.
moved back, I went to work for the Rack House in Cottleville.
Yes.
I did events there, but also was their started as a server, just part-time
Yeah.
gig. I was
Okay,
like, pick up some extra cash.
Of course.
Because I was in selling wine wholesale for a company.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have time to do this. That'd be great. And
Yeah.
then one thing led to another, and I went up to bartend and then bar manager and then moved to their other location in St. Charles.
So it
when
grew
that
fast,
opened.
like the first round.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so did that and took over events at that location in addition to front of house manager.
Wow.
And it was small, so it was
Yeah.
it was simple to do both. It wasn't like a super fast paced, crazy busy.
But you were
restaurant.
managing front of house and also
Yeah, and the events.
the events, running them fully.
Yeah, I mean, we did have catering, or we did have other staff there, but yeah,
Okay.
I was the event manager for all the events
wow.
there.
Wow.
And I had my company going at the time.
Okay.
It was very part time.
So now you're one person running 3.
Right, exactly. Did that, and I did that up until about a year and a half ago. I had a full-time job, worked 60 plus hours a week for a company, and
Yeah.
then decided, I was like, you know what, this is too much.
Yeah.
I'm tired of working 6 days a week for a company, and then
Right.
my only day off, go to work and do a wedding on a
Yeah.
Saturday.
So
Yeah.
quick pause. Being a hubby that came into the game late, was your husband with you at this time when you had your company open? Was
He was.
he also working a full time job as well?
He's always worked full-time.
Okay, okay.
My husband was truly the only reason I started this company.
Aw.
So credit to him. He
Yeah.
pushed me enough. He's like, just do it. He's
Yeah.
like, you've talked about it for years. Just
He's
do
like,
it.
I'm tired of hearing you talk about
Yeah.
it.
And he's like, just start it out.
Yeah.
And forever. I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then finally the one day he's like, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it for you. And I'm like, no.
I love that.
I'll do it.
Yeah. He pushed you to do it. I love it.
And so technically I launched in December 12th, 2018.
Yeah.
No advertising, no anything.
Okay.
Did my one wedding in 2019, which
Yeah.
was my sister's. 2020, right? COVID hit in 2020?
yes.
Is that when it was?
Yes. Yes.
I hate to say it was a blessing for my company, but it was.
Yeah.
Because when COVID, everything started opening up, people are like, I have no idea what to do.
Right.
And so they're like, let's hire a coordinator.
Yes.
And so I feel like at that point, the only good thing I can truly say about COVID is that it helped push me to grow faster than just a normal day-to-day.
Right.
Yeah.
When brides, they didn't know what to do because they don't know about all the trends that are happening and all the new updates of what's
Right.
open and timelines
Right.
and all that. So did that, and then it was October 2021. I officially was like, all right, I'm done working 2 jobs.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Yes. So almost 2
So,
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So you did that and you decided. So what made you, and how hard was it for you to quit your full-time job? Like, were you stressed out? Because obviously now you're almost like commission based in a
Yeah.
way.
Go into
Oh.
like the feelings of like what you were feeling.
it was horrible. I went back
Yeah.
and forth. I'm not a crier, and there were tears.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I was like, I don't
Okay.
know what to do. I don't know because
Yeah.
I'm leaving a steady paycheck that I
Yes.
got every week.
Yeah. Insurance, all the fun stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, we had all that. I'm like, insurance was through my company because my husband is in construction and is a contractor that way, so he doesn't have it.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, the job that we have steady income Monday through Friday is gone.
Yeah.
And we went back and forth a bunch, and finally was like, no, this is the right decision for the family because I'm not going to grow unless I can put more of my time towards it.
That's fair.
Right.
That's fair.
And it's like I already had 2 coordinators working for me at that time, and they were working more weddings than I was.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, but with
You're almost having like FOMO at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like with coordination, it's a numbers game. I try to tell people all the time. It's not, you're not going to work one event and be like, there's my money for the year.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way. But having the other coordinators work some when I was still working gave me time off, but also I could book more than one event,
Right.
which helped us grow. And then now we're officially going and have
Yeah.
coordinators.
We're going
and-
downstream.
Look at you
So
go.
the big question that I have that we've kind of talked about a few times is the difference between a planner and a coordinator.
Yeah.
So you call yourself a coordinator quite a bit, and I've noticed that, as we've seen you at weddings and stuff like that. Can you kind of explain, since this is more of your industry, like we obviously work with you guys quite a bit,
Yeah.
but can you explain the difference between a planner and a coordinator a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So it's truly, I say both depending on who I'm talking to. Planning, so like my packages, I have a coordination package,
Yeah.
which is like an event management package.
Okay.
Okay.
That package starts 6-8 weeks out
Okay.
from the events. You can book 2 years out if you want, but we
Yeah.
don't get down to the nitty gritty
Yeah.
until those last 6 to 8 weeks.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay.
We finalize timelines. I coordinate with vendors. We do the fine tuning of the event,
Yeah.
but we're not doing any planning for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We provide like the vendor referrals throughout the process before, but you do all the booking yourself.
Mm-hmm.
In a planning, we help you throughout all of it. We
So from the
help you
very
book
beginning.
those vendors.
You're there to hold their hand.
We will point you in the right direction depending on if you have full or partial. They're so different, and every
Yeah.
vendor, every coordinator or planner is different
Yeah.
too. Every package is not going to be the same.
Right.
And so like my partial planning, you have monthly check-ins and you have monthly to-do lists, and I have monthly to-do lists.
Yeah.
So we're not constantly on the phone, but yet we all know what we need to have done by the time we talk next.
Everyone is staying
Yeah.
on track.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Say full planning's a different beast in its own.
Yeah,
With attending every meeting and having 5 or 6 quotes from every single type of vendor.
Wow.
But it's getting there. There are planners in St. Louis that is their everything, and they do fantastic with it. I am very much more of a partial planner.
Yep.
I think brides make it your own. I
Yeah.
can assist whenever, but it's your
Yeah,
wedding.
I
Make
agree.
it your big day.
Yeah, I
Right,
agree.
right.
Compared to
Like,
me
pick
being
your
like
own photographer, pick your own caterer,
Exactly.
unless the venue obviously has preferred.
right.
Pick your own, video, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I totally agree with that, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I will do. I have a couple full plannings
Yeah.
this year, and they're great
Yeah.
because, again, I can knock it out. I have vendors that I work with that are good starting points, and then we can go because I still want vendors that match the vibe of the couple
Right.
and the style they're looking for. There's so many styles from video to, photo video, but also florist.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
more the wildflower feel or
Yeah.
the more, constructed, and it's like I want to know exactly. I'm a big Pinterest,
Yeah.
and I'm like, send me your full Pinterest board,
Yeah,
so I
no,
know
that's fair.
absolutely.
exactly
Yeah.
what you're envisioning
Yeah.
for that day.
Well, and
Right,
another thing
right.
that you're also doing is you're also creating the design for these weddings.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like some people forget that you guys, as wedding planners, coordinators, also do that. So not only are you planning or coordinating, but you're also designing the wedding,
Yeah, that's definitely more. So like the coordination side, you don't get as much of the design portion of it, but for planning, it's sending out the swatches and making sure that the blues are cohesive throughout the
Yeah.
whole thing, and the small details that you don't necessarily think about when it's your first wedding or when it's in between families or whatever.
Right.
You don't sit there and look at the little details until the last 6 weeks, and you're like,
Exactly.
I didn't do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So
The
you're
panic
like,
sets in.
So really,
Exactly.
like you guys as a whole, like wedding coordinator, planners, you guys have multiple titles, not just one, because
Oh, for
you're
sure.
also making sure the day is flowing,
Mm-hmm.
you're making sure that everything's scheduled. You're also the emergency contact.
Yep.
So like if something happens, which we've had, run-ins with like something didn't show up, flowers or something
Yeah.
like that, and like I feel like it all relies on you.
It is. I've had everything from a cake get dropped walking into a venue. That's like a 4-tier
Gosh.
cake that you're like,
Oh
oh my gosh, how am I
my.
going to do this?
Yet to
Let's-
see that.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So
Yeah.
like I'm assuming this was probably within like the last year.
Yeah, it was last October, and it was chaotic. Nobody knew. And like what I tell brides all the time is on a wedding day, the only people that know exactly what was planned
Right.
is the bride and groom
Yep.
and me.
Right.
Not a single guest is ever going to know if something
It's
is
different.
different than what was originally planned.
Right.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's so incredible. So this
That
person
right there
drops
is
the
good
cake.
advice.
So what happened?
So they were coming
Yeah.
in, they were getting it out, and it was a pretty substantial
Yeah, it's a
4-tier.
four, yeah.
It was,
4-tier. That's a big cake.
yeah,
Yeah.
I believe their head count was like 225,
So they
and it
had
was
a
for
pretty big-
everybody.
Wow.
And so it was very extravagant with the decoration and all that. And I was like, okay, it was a centerpiece for walking in, and I was like, all right, how are we gonna fix this? Because no one can make a 4-tier that fast.
No.
It was delivered at supposed to be delivered at 1, and the ceremony was at 4.
Okay.
It's like, okay, we don't have enough time. Knock on wood, and thank goodness there are great bakeries
Yeah.
that I know here in St. Louis
Yeah.
Yeah.
that I was able to call, and I'm like, I don't care what it looks like. Give me sheet cakes, whatever the case may
Yeah.
be. But I need a small 2-tier bride and groom cake and enough cake to serve 225 people.
So do you feel comfortable shouting out who you called in that moment to get those cakes for you?
So to be honest with it, I ended up going with my mom, who
Oh, no
I love
way.
that.
I was like, Mom, hurry up. Let's
That's
get
awesome.
Yeah.
That's what she did. She was the one that was the quickest to be able to get it up there
Wow.
and back.
Wow,
and,
way to go, Mom.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
shout out to Chloe's mom.
You're
But
right.
yeah, so she was able to do it, and it turned out great. And the bride, I told him
Yeah. 'Cause you
after
have-
the ceremony,
yeah.
I was like, just so you know, before you walk in. And at first they were like, okay. And afterwards, like, you're right. No one knew. I'm like, no one knew.
Good. Yeah.
Not a
And it's
single
just a
person.
cake. At the end of the day, and like when people can look back, it's just a cake.
Right.
It's,
Right.
It's just food.
Right.
No big deal. It's not like your
In-
photos got deleted or your video got deleted. It's just
Yeah.
food.
Right.
And big question
know.
is like, did the cake bakery drop the cake, or
They
was
did.
oh, okay? So,
So
how
they
did
probably- it's gotta
how did
be
that all
more
work?
time.
Yeah, how did that
Yeah.
all work? I mean, cake's done, so do the bride and groom get money back? Like, it's very. I've always
Yeah.
wondered that.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
They would get the refund for
Yeah.
it because the mistake is on
Them.
them.
The bakery
it's like
of themselves,
us
yeah.
canceling on a wedding. Like if we had a wedding and we canceled on
Yeah.
them, we would have to refund
Well,
them.
yeah, but
Exactly.
it's always our biggest fear, especially like when entrances for a
Oh my
wedding
gosh.
come in. When
Yeah.
they all come in like bum rushing us
the
and we're
cake's right
backing
there.
up,
The
we
cake
have
is
to
right
be
there.
so aware. But then we'll
Yeah.
have that sometimes we do have pretty sloshy groomsmen,
Yeah.
which not bashing on anybody, have your
And
time.
bridesmaids too.
But there's been a few times where Courtney and I have looked at each other and been like, that was a very
It
close
just
call.
happened like when we were at Piazza a couple weeks ago, and I
Yeah.
was like,
Had it
this
happen a few
cake
times at the
is
Stonehouse.
so close to me that I'm like,
No.
I have to literally stand my ground here because if
Yeah.
I move, it was such a beautiful cake that I'm like, if I move like 2 feet over, I can bump the table, and that is probably one of my fears on a
Oh,
wedding day,
100%.
you know?
I've done
Where's
some,
the cake at? How are they coming in? That's my first
Oh.
thing when I get to the reception.
I've done some, and like I've messed with a bunch of cakes.
Yeah.
Between them being,
Yeah,
I
you do the
don't.
toppers, sometimes flowers in
Yeah.
them. Yeah, I watched you do flowers on one cake, and
Yeah.
we were at Notting Hills. That was legit.
Oh, we're trying to figure.
That was killer
I
looking
don't
though.
do them all the time, and so
was
when I
so
do, I'm like
beautiful,
looking
though.
at pictures. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, what's a good feel?
Yeah,
for
but you killed it. That cake looks so good.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
no, it's just figuring everything out. But I think St. Louis as a whole, even though it's a big city,
Yep.
it's a pretty tight knit wedding industry.
is.
And no matter what, I think we've talked about this before. I can call another coordinator
Yep.
almost any day, and I know I can find somebody to have my back
Exactly.
and to help me in situations.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if it's last minute and I've had a bride that their photographer and videographer, it was a husband and wife, not you guys.
Yeah.
They went into labor the morning of a wedding.
Oh,
So they
my.
both were gone. Well, we didn't know until 9 a.m. when I got the call, and they were
Yeah.
supposed to be there at noon. And it's like, all right, well, and it was within 15 minutes. I had another photographer and videographer
Yeah.
that were like, nope, we got it. We're good.
Yeah, that's so. Tell me a little bit about, your favorite things about being a wedding coordinator planner. Like, what are some things that you've seen that you love to do? Just kind of take us on a day-to-day adventure.
I mean, my favorite part about being a wedding planner, coordinator, whatever,
Yeah.
wedding therapist is usually what I feel like.
There you go.
Is I like seeing a venue come and do a complete circle and be something different by the end.
Okay.
I've been at numerous venues hundreds of times, and every time I go, it's completely different.
Yeah.
Which is what I like about weddings in general. I've worked
Right.
more corporate side of events before, and they're so monotonous that they're not my
Mm-hmm.
style.
Right.
I like something that is personal.
It's always evolving almost.
Yeah. I mean, you guys were at the wedding with me a few weeks ago at Notting Hills.
Shout out
and
Kim.
right? With the picture wall.
Yes, that was
Absolutely
so cool.
loved
So
it.
this couple that I love them so much. They just came back from their honeymoon.
I know, I saw that.
I know the sloth, but they used, and I've never seen this before, so I'm very interested on how you guys got this. But they used all of our engagement photos, and then either they had a black and white preset, whatever. They all were black and white, and that was the photo backdrop for the photo booth. And I just thought that was so freaking cool.
Yeah, it was really,
Yeah.
really cool.
I loved it just because it was, it was a fun
Yeah.
backdrop to use for anybody.
Yeah.
And it showed them.
Yes.
And I mean, they didn't have, I mean, we reuse pictures. It's not
Yeah.
like you had to use 900 pictures.
Right.
Yeah.
We reuse them because no one's going to get that close in or
No.
anything. But no, I love the personal touches. I love the big trend now of people having their dogs for drinks,
Yes,
for their signature
signatures.
drinks.
So what made Kim and Michael get that backdrop?
That was all Kim.
Okay.
100%. No, she was telling me about it at
Yeah.
our final meeting. She's like, I got this really cool thing. I'm like, all right.
Uh-huh.
And when it showed up, she's like, I just made it myself. So I didn't know what
Yeah.
really I was like, there's so many, I made it myself that you're like,
Right. It's
how is
DIY.
it really going to come together? at the
Where's
end?
this going?
But Kim, she did her flowers herself and they were stunning in general.
Yeah.
they were.
So when she showed me those, I was like, all right, this is going to be
Yeah.
epic no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And no, she killed it with that. I think the fact that she brought out with the black and white and the black from the venue itself,
Yeah.
it matched perfect.
It looked so good.
Yeah.
So show me, not show me, but tell me about like how a day begins. So like, I'm a bride, I book you. How does a day look whenever, let's say I'm getting married at Piazza Messina?
Yeah. So first thing in the morning, what I do is I know what time you're starting hair and makeup. So I text you, I say, happy wedding day.
Aw.
First thing every morning, I ask if they need coffee or if they need anything, we can get it delivered. Anything to help make that morning stress-free. You've done all the planning, you've done all the hard stuff. Sit back, enjoy mimosas,
Yeah.
and don't stress. The whole point of hiring us is to bring your vision to reality that
Exactly.
day.
Right.
So anything I can do, usually what I do is I'll say that, and then I don't get in immediately.
Yeah.
I don't need to necessarily be there at
No.
8 in the morning.
No.
But it's a long day in general,
Yeah.
so I
Yes,
don't
it
need
is a
that.
bit- Weddings
Yeah.
are very long days.
Yes.
We include up to 15 hours in our package.
That's a long
so
time.
it's a long day sometimes.
Yeah.
Other days are, I would say my standard is probably about 12.
Yeah.
But there are days when it's especially like split ceremonies, like if it's a church ceremony at noon and then reception doesn't end until 11.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, those days are super long.
Super.
Yes.
And they're long for us too because there's either like a gap in between.
Mm-hmm.
So where we have to go take photos or like we have to go to the reception and take photos.
Right.
So there's always
Right.
like this gap and those days are always long. Those are like our 10 to 12 hour days as
Yeah.
well. So you text the bride, hair,
Yep.
makeup, mimosas. They're chilling, having fun.
Yeah, they're relaxing. We get there usually, I mean, depending on what time the venue allows us. But usually we'll show up to where the bride's getting ready. If it's somewhere close, just to check in, make sure that they have everything they need, and then grab any last minute details that she might have
Yeah.
to bring to the venue. We do all the setup, ceremony, and reception. As long as it's not hanging drapery or hanging things from walls or ceilings, we'll take care of it.
Awesome.
And so we'll do all that. We're there. We attend your rehearsal as well. So if it's the Thursday before nowadays.
Yeah.
But we attend those to make sure everyone's comfortable.
Everybody's like on time, going down the aisle.
I tell people all the time, the rehearsals are more about the bride
Yeah.
because it's a stress
Definitely.
thing. It's making
Yeah.
sure that you know that your groomsmen most of the time know where they're going to be the next
Yeah.
day and how
Yeah.
they're going to stand.
Exactly. Who they're walking down the
Shout
aisle
out to
with.
us boys. Shout out to the boys.
Yeah.
There are some crazy bridesmaids too, but the
Of course.
groomsmen, it's usually like, hey, focus.
Right.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
exactly. Well, yeah, we know that too because we've been doing this for almost 10 years. That like we know, and
Yeah.
if I'm doing the groomsmen pictures, because so many times that I send my second photographer with the groomsmen, I'll tell them I'm like, hey boys, listen up.
Yep.
I know you guys want to party. I know you guys want to have fun. If you listen to me, just give me 10 to 15 minutes of your time.
Yep.
I'll knock these groomsmen pictures, groom portraits out real quick, and then you'll get back to partying, having
Yeah,
fun.
well, that's what I say at rehearsal. I'm always
Yeah.
like, I make my big announcement at the beginning.
Yep.
I introduce myself, and I'm like, 15 minutes of paying attention to me, and you guys can go have as much fun as you want
Exactly.
when you're done.
And they're honestly so grateful when we tell them. If you just set the precedence right then and there.
Yeah, you set the standard for
Yeah,
it.
they're so grateful. It's not like, these, we don't need 1,000 groomsmen pictures, and
Right.
same with you. Like, you
Yeah.
don't need 1,000 minutes of these
Yeah.
guys just like, because that's just not.
And you get it. I mean, like on your side, like the groom has seen his soon-to-be bride at that point at the rehearsal already stressed out through the entire process.
Right.
So he is actually at that point in time very burnt out.
Oh, for
and
sure.
so like when we get to photos at that point, it depends on kind of when the photos fall on that day. We've had grooms that are super stoked to have photos all day.
Yeah.
And then we've had a groom that came up and said, hey, I want 5 minutes. and knock them out. And we were like, all right, cool. And so when they set the standard as well for us, we know what they're expecting, and then we also set a standard for them.
Right.
So it makes the day flow, and also then the groom isn't stressed out because he's like, all right, they're actually understanding me as well.
Yeah.
So we really try to focus on the groom and the groomsmen as well, because like when I first started doing photography, I always thought it was going to be hard to do like pictures of, you know, the bridesmaids, because I thought they were going to want to fix their hair constantly, check their makeup, and they do it, but they do it so fast on a wedding
Trust
day.
me, a girl's
like
like,
girls get it done sometimes.
Yeah.
I actually, most of the time, it's wrangling the men.
Yeah.
The men on wedding days can be, I'm not going to call it difficult, but a little challenging.
I finally started this past year handing out timelines at rehearsals for, it's like a girls and guys, and it says guys need to be dressed in like all bold by this time.
Love
'Cause
it.
It's always,
Yes.
I get 100 times on a rehearsal day and a wedding day. Well, hey, what time do I need to be dressed? It's like, you know what? I'll print it for you.
Yep,
If you have
yeah.
that, everybody, what do I do with my hands?
Yes.
Yes,
And I'm like,
all the time.
I will tell you once I pose you guys.
Yeah, it is literally in like when I'm doing like the groomsmen
Yeah.
or the grooms like portraits, I'm like, all right, this is what we're going to do. I do a rundown and I'm going to say, I'm going to tell you exactly what to do on cue. So I'll say 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, all right, adjust your tie. I take 3 or 4 photos. Okay, now go down to the buttons.
Yeah.
Now button your coat. I walk the groom through it, and like when people
super
see,
grateful
yeah,
for
when
it.
people see our photos, it almost looks natural, but they don't realize that he was so comfortable because I was talking him through everything.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, hey, get dressed.
Yeah.
I see that a lot because like I have to be the worst photographer client because I want you guys to tell me I don't know how to pose. I don't know all
one
that.
One thing I love about you as a wedding coordinator, planner, designer, therapist,
right.
you don't tell me what to do. And you're not up my
Well,
ass.
I don't know.
I
You
just
guys
want to
do your
tell
own
you,
things.
like, I've worked with multiple wedding coordinators, and you were like, this is your time, which it is when
Yeah.
I take photos. And I'm just so grateful, and I know Dylan is too, because we work so well together that every time we've worked together, you're just like, hey, you do your thing. If you need me, I'm right here. There's might have been a couple instances where you've been like, hey, like, I need this or whatever, but you've always stayed out of my way.
Yeah, and it comes
And
down
I
to the
love
thing
that.
with Chloe, like when we work with her,
Yeah, we stay out of her way.
is
too,
the
unless she needs help and we can help you.
communications and again standards.
Yes.
She sets her standard in the beginning of the day. Hey, this is where I'm at. Where are you guys at? Or if I'm walking by because I had to go get a drone for a shot, or like maybe one of your lenses if I'm just one of your second.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, photos, wrapping up in about 10, 20. All you do is you make it more of a question instead of a directive.
Yeah.
And that to us is so beneficial to us
Right.
because then it doesn't feel like we're being rushed. It's like, okay, she's allowing us to be creative,
Right.
just like how you're getting to be creative through design and all
Yeah.
of the stuff that you're doing for the bride and groom.
Yeah,
And that means the world to
you
us.
always send us like a timeline of their day, but you still allow us to have the timeline with our client when
Right.
it comes to photo. Because you always have said, you're just like, that's your thing. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, yeah, and that's what I love about you, because you just let me do my thing.
Yeah.
And there's other coordinators that are like that, but I have worked with some that are literally at my side every single second, which I can see from their perspective at times. But it's like, just let me do my thing.
Everyone works
Yeah.
different. Like I'm
Yeah.
a big, I don't know all the detail. I couldn't be a photographer
Yeah.
because there's certain things that you guys focus on that to me, they're no big deal.
Right.
But to you guys, they are. And vice versa. I
Right.
mean, and
Oh,
I don't want to,
absolutely, yeah.
I don't want to take away your guys'
Yeah.
time. Again, I like sticking to a timeline.
Yes.
That's why it's like, hey, are we good?
Right, but you don't care what happens at what time in photos. So like if we were to switch a first look with somebody, you would not care because you're like, it's just photos. Photos are happening.
yeah, as long as it
Yeah.
happens and everything that they requested happens.
Exactly.
matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if it's something like, like the full day timeline.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Right.
I understand. Like, hey, let's
Yeah.
talk before the day of.
Exactly.
But for stuff that I'm not even necessarily there, if I'm
Yeah.
setting up and you guys are doing
For
first looks,
sure.
it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah,
if
if
something
it's-
Yeah.
flows better, if somebody's not there when
Right.
they need to
Exactly.
be, it's okay.
And that's why, because you're just like me. Like we're just kind of like, hey, we know what to do. We've been doing this for a while.
Right.
We're just gonna go with the flow. If something messes up, we're just gonna keep going with the flow.
Yeah.
There's no need to.
It comes down to that trust and
Yeah.
again communication. I mean, that's where
Communication is key.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
working with repeat vendors
Yes.
helps a lot because you
for sure.
know, I know what to expect from you two.
Yep.
If it's both of you, if it's one, whatever, I
Yeah.
know exactly not how you guys work,
Yeah.
but have a general idea of how you guys are.
Yeah.
Compared to new ones, I feel like I check in more. I'm like, are you good? Can I
Yeah.
help?
Yeah.
You're right.
'Cause I
the
haven't
general
worked with
outcome
them.
might be a little
Exactly.
different.
It's
Yeah.
great when you work with repeat vendors because then you're almost like, you almost feel like you're home.
Yeah.
Like you feel very
Yeah.
comfortable and you don't feel like on edge, stressed about anything.
Well, there's some that like I've worked a lot with that want more help with me, like helping fluff dresses. When you guys, you have both of you, so you guys can knock it out, and you're like, I don't even need that. It's like, cool,
Yeah.
I can be there if
Yeah.
you need it, but
Yeah.
No.
Great.
You can go focus on other things.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
focus on your things. So you get there kind of like after the bride. This is kind of backing up a little bit because I want to kind of see how your
yeah.
day flows.
So once we get there, we'll do all setup, ceremony, and reception.
Which, how long does that typically take on average? Because I feel like it takes a while.
Anywhere, I would say if we're in a rush, 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I would say on average, probably 3 hours is
Yeah.
a
Okay.
normal setup. If we're not doing anything extravagant.
Exactly.
Of course, there are times that it's been a 5-6 hour setup, depending on
How many details?
everything. But in general, 3.5 hours is more than enough.
Right.
Wow.
There are times that we've had to bring in assistants that's like, all right, I
Yeah.
cannot get this done.
Fair.
Especially venues that operate as like a business during the day and close at a certain time and you have a small window to set up.
Yeah.
That makes it a little harder.
Right.
But no, so we do all that. Ceremony, we'll do the same thing as rehearsal. We'll get everyone down the aisle, make sure dresses are fluffed. We'll make sure that everyone's in place where they need to be that day.
Right.
After the ceremony, we take care of moving anything that might need to be repurposed. So if we're taking an arbor flowers and putting them on the head table or welcome sign or any of that, we'll take care of that while you guys go take pictures.
Yep.
At bridal party and everyone goes and enjoys cocktail hour or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And then throughout the reception, we're there just to make sure things stay on time.
Yeah. Which is kind of like your chill time, your downtime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We run around all over the place in the morning.
Yep.
We have our downtime. Our biggest thing is I want to make sure we're visible at all times. So in case anybody needs anything, we're there.
Right.
We have our emergency day kit that's pretty extensive. And I want to make sure that if anyone needs anything, if it's a safety pin, a Tide stick, whatever, that we have it.
Love that.
And then we'll be the ones that come and tell the DJ like, hey, after this song, it's time for the bouquet toss,
Right.
or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, it's time for sunset pictures. Let's grab photographers, grab them, and head out.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the night, I tell brides, I'm like, go enjoy an after party, go get much needed rest. It's usually one of the two,
Yeah.
Yeah,
depending
yeah.
on the couple.
Yeah, exactly.
Pack your bags for your flight in the morning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we handle 100% of the cleanup at the end of the night too. So
Wow.
we'll
Which is
either
huge.
again, everyone's is different.
Yeah.
But to me, who wants to stay after drinking since
Yeah.
9 a.m. and clean up at the end?
No one.
Things are gonna break because
Yes.
they're gonna be like, just throw it in the box.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. You guys want
Yeah.
to be able to resell things if you want, or
Yeah.
if they're important, keep them.
Yeah.
And so we handle 100% of the cleanup. I pack it in U-Hauls, I put it in cars. Excuse me. We leave it at the venue, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Whatever makes it easiest for them that night. And then at the end, like that night, that's when we're done.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
when you guys start working, but that's when our biggest thing's done.
Yeah, that's because I see some of you guys cleaning up, which makes sense. It's smart. When the dance floor opens, you guys are kind of taking things off tables, kind of getting rid of stuff.
Slowly
Yeah.
kind of just depleting the.
I would say I try not to do anything that people notice throughout the night. So
Right.
candles, don't leave tables till the end because it adds
Yeah.
ambiance.
Right.
But like table numbers.
Right.
Everyone knows where they're sitting by then.
Exactly.
Because they're not sitting anymore. They're on the
Right.
dance floor,
or
but they know where
talking.
their seat
Yeah,
is.
wandering outside.
So like that, or if it's like a welcome table in a different room that you don't leave that way.
Right.
Well, we don't need that out. Cards and gifts. I bring those and take those away from the door and put them on the head table most
Yeah.
of the time.
Oh, wow.
Just so it's not right there, but yet at the same time, it's easy.
Right.
Yeah.
Try to make it as easy as possible at the end of the
Right.
night. But again, you don't want to take away everything that,
Yeah.
as I say, it takes away from pictures and then like photography. I don't want you guys taking pictures and the tables being vacant in the background.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
plain Jane wedding
Yeah.
venue background.
Yeah.
Right?
I
Yeah.
love
White
it.
linens, you're done.
Just white linens. That's all they got.
Right. So, but no, I mean, anything that we can do on a wedding
Yeah.
day to assist, if it's vendors, if it's mother of the bride, mother of the groom, bridal party, that's our ultimate goal that day is to keep the stress away from everyone.
Right. Which is awesome. And that's why I love whenever we have wedding coordinators. Because
Absolutely.
then it's like, we can breathe them in. Because I feel like our clients that don't have wedding wedding coordinators.
Yeah.
I feel like those clients rely heavily on us to make sure that their timeline is flowing.
100%.
And we are the ones that have to usually make those timeline meetings and go over
yeah.
all like the things that are happening with it, like
Well, not only
photo
just
or video.
not only just our clients,
Yeah.
but I mean the venue comes to us and is like, okay, food's ready. Are you guys done?
And we
I
help
mean,
with the
there's so many
veneer,
things that
you
you
know,
guys
it's
take off of our
insane.
backs that
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
where we can when we show up and we know that there's a coordinator, planner.
Then we could just focus
It
on
just allows our creativity to flow so
for
much
sure.
better.
because we have to make sure too, not only are we taking photos if there's not a coordinator,
Right.
but we have to make sure that the hair and makeup is running on time, because there's been so many times where, as we all know, that hair and makeup runs, 30, 40 minutes behind.
Yes.
And we're like, okay, well, now we have to decide what we need to, change, what we
Yeah.
need to push aside, what we need to coordinator.
Oh, for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, it's easier. I think it's educating people the
Yeah.
benefits of a coordinator, and I think coordinators are becoming more and more. I see them more often,
Yeah.
and I think it's because the old persona used to be coordinators or planners were for the wealthy, and that's not the case. I mean, yes, there are some that are
Higher end.
higher
top tier.
end,
Yeah.
but you can have day of coordinators. Don't really, I'm gonna say they don't exist. No one's gonna walk in and be like, I'm here, I'm your coordinator, today's the
Yeah.
first day I met you,
Yeah.
what do I do? Because it's not setting themselves up for success, so that's kind
Mm-hmm.
of gone away. A lot of us have switched to the wedding management, so it's like a month of coordination.
Yeah, which I like that, because we've had we've had those day of coordinators, and I'm like, why were you here?
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
really,
I feel
the only
like
thing
we
I
could have
think-
done all of that.
Yeah. The only thing like day of is maybe like a venue day of,
Yeah.
like where they're specifically for that venue.
Yeah.
Which
Because they
there's so
know
many
the
of them.
venue so
Yeah.
clean and through.
Yeah.
They kind
Yeah.
of know the flow of everything.
Yeah.
So I would really say that's really the only
Those
time.
Yeah.
those are great, and I think that's where it's finally going away. The venue coordinator and a day or like in a month of,
Yeah.
they are separate.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And which is great. I
Yeah.
think people are finally understanding venue coordinators focus on their
Just the
venue.
venue.
They
Yeah.
make sure everything at the venue is the way it should be. If it's staff, table setups,
Absolutely.
whatever it is.
Huge biased on their side
Making
of
sure
things.
there's not a fire in their bathroom or something.
Exactly. Well, yeah, and keeping
Yeah.
track of the toilet paper in the bathrooms and making sure that I've had this happen. If a circuit were to blow, they know where that box is and they're going to do it. It's done before anybody else even gets up.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if I'm going, I might not have any idea most of the time where
Exactly.
any of that is.
Yep,
Right.
yep.
So it's so important to like make known that there's a venue coordinator and this is what they do.
Right.
And this is what a wedding coordinator does, because I feel like so many people do get confused because they might think, because obviously they don't do this for a living, so they don't know. So they might get confused that, oh, a venue coordinator, we got to, so many times people tell us, they're like, oh, I got a venue coordinator, this is my venue. But I'm like, but that's for your venue.
Well, and I'm sure Chloe's
So-
even got the question
Yeah.
probably a few times, I'm assuming here. But I'm sure you've got a couple phone calls from brides being like, I just want you the day of.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, again, it's educating. To
Yeah,
be like,
exactly,
it's
yeah.
more than that, because if we're day of, we're not set up for success, and we're not going to make it as smooth for you either, because we're going to have to ask questions.
Correct.
My goal is I never want to ask my bride anything on the wedding day.
Right.
I want to know, and if I need to make a decision, I've talked to her enough. I know what she likes. I know what she doesn't. I can make a decision that I think is exact one she would make if something were to change.
Right.
For sure.
And I think that's important to getting to know your couples. I mean, you guys with engagement sessions or planners, just
Yes.
with our meetings, getting to know their personalities to find out what's important to them. To know it's like, no, I know for a fact that their wedding cake is the most important thing. Well, then
Exactly.
that is, if that's the case, that wedding cake is not on my site.
Yeah.
It's not being knocked over.
We are not dropping that
We're not
4-tier
gonna
wedding
take 3
cake.
steps back and hit the cake. Oh my god.
So yeah, just getting to know them is big, but
Yeah, huge.
educating them to realize, and I think venue coordinators are doing it now.
Yeah.
Because so many of us work hand in
Yeah.
work hand in hand with
For
them.
sure.
That if they're there, it frees us up more to not focus on the venue
Correct.
and to be able to work with other vendors or
Yeah.
to spend more time
Yeah.
with the bride.
I feel like every venue needs to have somebody that is there
Yeah.
from the start of the ceremony to the end of the reception.
Yeah, crossing the
After.
T's and dotting the I's
Because
through the
there's
whole
so many
night.
times
for
where we
sure.
see people just leave, and I'm like, what? Are you just gonna let all these people like in charge of your venue? Like what?
I know some of them are crazy to me when I see that, and I'm
Yeah.
like, is there even a venue person here?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, but okay, whatever. It is what it is. So, with that being said, what is one piece of advice you can give couples who have not hired a wedding coordinator yet and maybe are still looking for a wedding coordinator?
I think my biggest piece of advice for hiring a coordinator is sit back and think of your wedding day and all the hard work you've put into it, who do you trust enough to do all your setup for you that you don't want getting ready with you? And if your answer is nobody, if you want everybody with you that you would also want, then you need somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They can't be in two places at once. You can't be in two
Right,
places
for
at
sure.
once.
Right,
So
right,
you know
right.
your vision, but if nobody else does, then it's not going to come together.
Yeah.
Pick somebody that you trust. If it's a coordinator, if it's a decorator, whoever it may be, and give them that responsibility so you can enjoy spending time with the people that mean the most on your day.
Right.
But no, I think that's truly the biggest thing is sit back and think about it because you can't be everywhere.
I love that.
And the time is there's only 24 hours in a day.
Yep.
And you can only start so early for every vendor.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
You're not going to have hair and makeup start at 2 a.m. usually. I mean, you wouldn't want it that early.
Right. No.
Right. Right.
I've seen 5 a.m., which I was like, woo, girl.
I know. That, especially when it doesn't end until late. Those are long days.
Long days.
But no, everything, just sit back and think about it is my biggest thing when I tell brides. I'm like, if you don't have somebody in particular that you are like, yep, they're going to do that, then pick somebody else so that you know will do it correctly, that has the experience to know how to handle situations and to make sure it all, again, comes to life that day.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Yeah.
This hopefully will help educate a lot of clients of ours, people that listen to this
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
not only maybe look into you, hey.
That's what we're hoping.
But also, know what an actual wedding coordinator does and how much help you
how
guys
much-
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much
You
it will
guys do
improve
so
your
much on your
day.
wedding day. Yeah. And we love that about you. And we love working with you. So tell our listeners where they can find you at on Facebook, Instagram,
Twitter,
and
if you've got
we'll
one,
also link
anything.
up everything like I mentioned earlier on our podcast.
Yeah, so everyone can find me at chloeandcompanyevents.com, or I have Chloe and Company on Facebook and Chloe and Co on Instagram. And you can check me out there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for listening to
guys.
episode 4. And we
Episode
will be
4.
recording episode 5 soon. Peace.
Peace.